What's good, y'all? What's good, Real Talk Squad? This is Miles. You are listening to Real Talk with Miles Johnson, where you know we always keep it real. I feel like it's been a little minute since I did the intro there, but man, oh man, I'm going to be at the Eagles Cowboys game with my dad. I want to shout out StubHub, man, because they got us tickets. I told my dad, we out, Pops. We going to AT&T Stadium in Dallas. I'm going to have my Eagles jersey on. He's going to have his Cowboys jersey on. I know some of y'all ask me, how come your dad is a Cowboys fan and you are an Eagles fan? I'll break it down for you. Now, my dad tried to corrupt me when I was younger. And I was looking at their squad and I saw Tony Romo. I saw playoff chokers. I saw losers. I'm not willingly signing up to root for losers. But I grew up seeing Michael Vick. I grew up seeing Nick Foles. I grew up seeing Carson Wentz. I grew up seeing Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, Jeremy Maclin. Like, we had some guys, and I crashed out when I was middle school when Chip Kelly done shipped off all my guys. But I became a fan in 2010 when Deshaun Jackson had that miracle in the Meadowlands. So I told my dad, hey, I love you to death. I love you. And I appreciate everything you've done for me. But I can't sign up to be with no losers. I can't root for that team. So if you're a Cowboys fan and you're not over 30 years old, you deliberately decided to root for losers. And you honestly can't get mad at the team that you got, the misery that y'all been in, because you signed up for it. You could have, if you're over 30, I get it. The 90s, amazing, amazing. That was a long time ago. Now, this is the Eagles-Cowboys preview, but there have been a lot of conversations about this Eagles team. And I ain't gonna lie, if you didn't know already, the Eagles beat the Packers. The Eagles beat the Lions. Now, I know if you look on Twitter, if you look on YouTube, you look on the different TV shows, different networks, it might give the impression that the Eagles are not 8-2, that they're 2-8. But this defense has been balling. And yes, the offense has had, a couple of very bad games. But against the Vikings, Hurts had a perfect pass rating. We're going to talk about that very, very soon. Against the Giants, they had 4 touchdowns Jalen Hurts had. I said Jalen Hurts had 4 passing touchdowns. I mean, you had 2 running backs with over 100 yards. That wasn't too long ago. So the offense got to be better, and we are going to criticize this offense. I'm going to talk about Kevin Patullo first. I'm going to talk about Nick Sirianni. I'm going to talk about Jalen Hurts. But we got to talk about Kevin Patullo, because Kevin Patullo might possibly be single-handedly ruining the legacy of A.J. Brown. It sounds very dramatic, what I just said. And I get it. But hear me out. A.J. Brown this season has honestly exclusively been lining up outside the numbers. This season, 88% of his snaps, he's lined up outside the numbers. So what does that give? Predictability. What does that give as well? Oh, AJ, he's not versatile. I've had to hear that CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, they're more versatile than AJ Brown. And whether you agree or not, we can't act like AJ is being put in the position to utilize his strengths. I'm not defending AJ Brown's antics on social media. I'm not defending his antics. I'm not defending him publicly talking about this offense. But when you look at the film and you look at the percentages of the plays that the Eagles run in 13 personnel, in 12 personnel, and they're still not able to get a consistent run game, and they continue to do that, and in heavy personnel, it doesn't allow for your wide receivers to be as much of a threat because it's not as spaced out, it's more condensed formations. Let's break this down real quick. So I talked about A.J. Brown this season exclusively being outside the numbers, lining up in the X, and essentially not being in the slot. Well, in 2022, when A.J. Brown was under Shane Steichen, 808 snaps, he was lined up outside the numbers. 342 of those snaps was in the slot. So it wasn't predictable. Like, yes, A.J. Brown was the main X guy. He's going to be outside the numbers. He ain't no Amon-Ra St. Brown. But you can't just have him outside the numbers all the time. What did Shane Steichen do? Especially against zone coverage, to beat zone coverage and to utilize A.J. Brown's strength, which is what? His yak. He's one of the most physical receivers in the league. He has some of the best hands in the league. And you're not utilizing his yak ability? The Eagles are 30th in the NFL in yak. They got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Are you serious? This is insanity. And it goes back to the play calling of Kevin Patullo. Because instead of calling shallow crosses, instead of calling crossing routes that put A.J. Brown in space, giving him the ability and the chance to make a defender miss, to be more physical, to be up against linebackers and safeties. What did Saquon Barkley say in that Vikings game when A.J. Brown had that touchdown to start the game off? They put a safety on you? What the was they thinking? And yeah, if I'm Kevin Patullo, if I'm A.J. Brown, if I'm Jalen Hurts, the point of emphasis in this Cowboys game is to test Demarion Overshown. He's coming off a gruesome injury, and obviously, it's going to take him a minute to get back to full strength. It's going to take him a minute to get back to game speed. His first game back was against the Raiders. I want to see A.J. Brown schematically lined up against Demarion Overshown. I want to see him lined up schematically against Logan Wilson. I want to see him lined up against Logan Wilson. These guys can't cover. I want to see him against Malik Hooker. I want to see him against Donovan Wilson. These guys can't hold A.J. Cleats on their best day. So the shallow crosses is something that we have to see from this offense, especially in zone coverage. What do the Cowboys love to do? Zone coverage. What happened in week 1? They exclusively played zone coverage. Now, Kevin Patullo, I don't know if he's like twiddling his thumbs or what the hell this brother does during the bye week. And I apologize because I tried to be the voice of reason to say, let's not blame Patullo for everything. And I do believe that it's not solely him. It's not 100%, but it's like 75, 80%. And that might be generous. 75, 80% being his fault. Because you're telling me we are now over 10 weeks into this season and you don't know how to use A.J. Brown against zone coverage? When Shane Steichen gave you the blueprint? Hell, Brian Johnson had A.J. Brown in the slot. Them in-breaking routes, them dig routes, them slants. Brian Johnson did it. And folks hated him. I didn't like Brian Johnson at the time, but he is better than Patullo. Kellen Moore, he did a lot of those shallow crosses, right? And let's break this down. In 2022, 17.5 yards per catch versus zone. That was a career best for A.J. Brown. 40% of his yak was against zone in 2022. So now teams are neutralizing AJ by playing zone. It's not that AJ Brown lost a step, it's that they have an offensive coordinator who is incompetent. In 2023, those numbers dipped early on, but after the bye week, and it's really 2024 as well, after the bye week, they turned up. And you saw Kellen Moore use 2024. You saw Kellen Moore use the shallow crosses, the crossing routes throughout the season. And it helped open up the game to allow big yak opportunities for A.J. Brown. So I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about his slot usage as well. In 2022, what I say earlier, A.J. Brown played 342 snaps in the slot. In 2023, he played 259 snaps. In 2024, it dipped to 171. And this year, we're at 52. So I don't want to hear that A.J. Brown isn't as versatile as some of the best receivers in the league. What's been happening is he's under an incompetent offensive coordinator that runs a scary offense where they are in heavy personnel because they are trying desperately to run the ball. Guess what, Patullo? It's not working. So what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting the same damn result. So how about you do this, Kevin Patullo? Put A.J. Brown in the slot. Mix things up. These cornerbacks aren't that good. It's just they already have their hips turned because when y'all have those comeback routes, they know already what the play is. They know it. They watch film. They know what y'all do most of the time. So I'm not trying to hear A.J. Brown lost a step, and I'm going to call myself out because Kevin Patullo is so bad at his job, he had me thinking for a little bit, dang, has A.J. lost a step? He ain't lose a step. He hasn't shown effort all the way. He's shown some piss poor effort, and nobody is excusing that. But if you put yourself in his shoes, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying put yourself in the athlete's shoes. You got an OC that don't know what the hell he's doing. And when A.J. Brown's complaining all this stuff, I don't think it's directed towards Jalen Hurts. I think it's directed towards Kevin Patullo. Now, he's going to say it's not about Nick Sirianni. It's not about Kevin Patullo. It's not about Jalen Hurts. He's going to say that because he doesn't want to make it out to be he's attacking one guy. But let's be honest. He's talking about Patullo. And let's talk about this, right? If you are the head of a company and you hire your mans to control a portion of that company, a portion of the company that you actually specialized in your time coming up through the ranks. Well, your homeboy is jacking it up. Your homeboy don't know what the hell he's doing. Wouldn't it make sense that you say, all right, let me show you how it's done? So why the hell, if this offense looks so putrid that Kevin Patullo has no idea what the hell he's doing, that Nick Sirianni ain't grabbed a clipboard like Dan Campbell and said, give me that, John. I'm going to run it today. And I'm not even the biggest Dan Campbell fan, yo. I still believe Nick Sirianni is a better coach than Dan Campbell. He got the record. He got the chip. But he is not exempt from criticism. Just like how when Jalen Hurts had a bad game against the Giants, had a bad game against the Packers or the Lions, and he deserves to be criticized for that, although a little bit tempered down because y'all be overdoing the whole Hurts criticism. But he deserves some accountability for that. The same way that when I'm looking at this Eagles offense, and yes, Patullo is bad. We all know that. Sirianni, are you going to make any adjustments? Aren't you a defensive? Damn, you might be because you lean on this defense so much. Aren't you an offensive guy, Nick Sirianni? What the hell are you doing? I'm not saying you got to call plays every single game, every single drive. I'm not saying that because clearly that's not your forte. But what I am saying is, dog, mid-game, and you have seen how this offense has looked under Shane Steichen, under Brian Johnson, under Kellen Moore. You've been here from the start. That's not new to you. Why are you not grabbing that clipboard and saying, I'm going to call the shots today? Because a lot of times, Nick Sirianni, he don't get that criticism because he won the chip. Because, hey, like, culture guy, CEO. Part of being a CEO is putting people in place to do the job well. And if the people that you put in place are not doing the job well, what should you do? Either do the job for them or hire somebody else. I'll give one more example out of it, right? I started Real Talk in 2020. I ain't start getting interns and people to like edit the content until like 2022 at the end of that joint, and like a bigger team around 2024 and then beginning of 2025. If somebody edits a video that I don't like, am I gonna just say, cool, push it out? No. I actually, when I first started this podcast, I was doing the clips. And I still do them to this day. And if it's a high leverage moment, if it's a big game, I'm gonna edit the clip. I'm not gonna give it to somebody who's jacking it up and say, you know what, I'm gonna live and die by you. So I feel like with Nick Sirianni, dog, take that stuff out his hand. I was about to cuss, mama. See, I be trying to, bruh. I really be trying to, mom. I ain't cussed today. All of that stuff. So I just think that Patullo, this offense, you gotta lock in. It's gotta lock in. But I think that this offense is really gonna be successful in spite of Patullo. And it's gonna be on the players. And one player that I'm focused on right now is Jalen Hurts. You see, y'all done messed up. And y'all fell for the bait. And actually, I fell for the bait. And actually, let me say this because it makes all the sense in the world when I say it. Part of me thinks that somebody in the Eagles organization wanted to light a fire under Jalen Hurts. Because every single time y'all talk crazy, every single time there's conversations about, is Hurts the franchise guy? Can Hurts throw? Is he a running back? Is he holding this offense back? Every single time it happens, what happens? Jalen Hurts has a career game. It just happened this season. That Giants game, he did not play well. Y'all were talking crazy because that was a Thursday night game. So y'all had a week and a half to talk crazy, a whole 10 days. Guess what happened next game? He had over 300 yards. He had 3 touchdowns and a perfect passer rating. Do you think it's a coincidence that he did that after a poor performance? Hell no. What about in the Super Bowl? When all the talk was, if you force Hurts to beat you, you're not going to win. And Saquon was held to 57 yards. They forced Jalen Alexander Hurts to beat them, and he finished the job and won Super Bowl MVP. So we're looking at this game against this Cowboys defense that, I'm sorry, y'all faced the Raiders. I am not impressed by that. I'm just not impressed by that. I think Quinnen Williams is a nice addition and makes y'all better, but this defense still isn't good. And I believe that this is a spot that Jalen Hurts is going to light up Jerry World and put the whole world on notice and say that when I want to, when I decide, all right, dog, let me call the plays, let me call the shots, let me pass the rock, they're going to see what Hurts does. They're going to see what I do. That's Hurts' mentality. That's what he's going to do. So expect him to honestly have his best game of the year against the Cowboys. I believe he will. I believe AJ. I believe Smitty. I believe Goddard. I believe all of these guys will go off. And if I could just bet something real quick with Jalen Hurts and his team, I'm going to say this. I think he has a 140 passer rating. I think he has 3 touchdowns. I think he has a rushing touchdown. And I think this Eagles offense drops 40 points on the Cowboys. What up, Dan? What up, Dan? I'm trying to tell you, he's going to have his best game of the year this game. All right. Talked about Nick Sirianni. Talked about Jalen Hurts. We talked about Kevin Patullo and A.J. Brown. Best believe if they use A.J. Brown correctly, dog, you're going to see he has not lost a step. And I am not excusing his poor attitude, his antics. I'm just trying to add some context to what's been going on and not just willy-nilly say Patullo is ass, he sucks, but to actually give context and numbers to say this guy actually had a blueprint with Shane Steichen and is refusing to adjust. Before I get to the defense, I want to say one last thing. Fred Johnson is going to be filling in for Lane Johnson. Now, this is part of the reason why Howie Roseman is so great, because Fred Johnson left in free agency. He was a Jaguar, and the Eagles traded a 7th-round pick to bring Big Fred back. Well, Big Fred was a huge reason why the Eagles beat the Rams. Once he got in, the whole offense changed. And last season, when Jordan Mailata was out on IR, who filled in for him? It was Fred Johnson. So this is not new territory for Fred Johnson. He's been here before. He's risen to the moment, and I believe he will do that again. And I just feel like Fred Johnson was one of the best trade acquisitions the Eagles could have got, because not only does he add much needed depth to the offensive line, but he got the vibes. And he was there for that magical run in 2024. So he knows what it means to be a champion. Not a lot of guys know that. Fred Johnson does. And he said he is willing and he hopes to show everybody how great he is. And yes, Lane is, Hall of Famer. The Eagles are 15-23 without Lane. That is 39%. With Lane, they are 110, 57-1. That's 65%. You're talking about a 20, what? I'm talking about my math. That's like a 26-point swing. That's big. And that's definitely something that if you're the Cowboys, you want to attack that right side of Jalen Hurts, right? And you want to attack and see how good Fred Johnson is, but I feel like he will be able to hold up. But at the end of the day, you still got to be able to keep that in mind, because no matter how great Fred is, he ain't no Lane Johnson. He ain't no Lane Johnson. So that's something that you guys take a note of. But I believe Big Fred will step in for Lane. Let's get to the defense real quick. And honestly, I can't wait to see this Cowboys offense against this Eagles defense. This Eagles defense, outside of the Super Bowl, is having the best 2-game stretch in the Vic Fangio Eagles era. I would have never thought they would have held. I mean, the fact that they held the Lions to less than 10 points, and we are seeing this whole defense just be a whole different unit with the addition of Jalen Phillips. I feel like the sky is the limit. Now, am I expecting them to hold Dallas to less than 10 points? Hell no. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is if this defensive line can get pressure to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens will be neutralized. I got enough respect for Pickens and CD, and Pickens has been having a phenomenal year, a career year. And that boy wants to get paid. He's going to get paid either by the Cowboys or somebody. Here's the thing. If the Eagles' defensive line doesn't get pressure and allows Dak Prescott to just lick his chops, I don't care how great Quinion is. I don't care how great Cooper DeJean is. I don't care how great Adoree Jackson has been playing of lately. CD and Pickens are going to get theirs. So it's going to be on the front seven of the Eagles. Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Jalen Phillips, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. We'll talk about him shortly. All of these guys have to get pressure to Dak in order to stop their prolific passing attack. I believe they will stop Javonte Williams, but you're going to have one-on-ones, and you're with CD and Pickens, and it's going to be much different than what it was that first time because now they got some more games to get acclimated. So, look, bro, we got respect for what the Cowboys have been doing with Pickens and CD and Dak has been having a great year throwing the ball. And we're looking for the defensive line to step up. And let's talk about these Georgia Bulldogs. Because Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, they're making life a little bit hard for Jeffrey Lord. I know my guy's a billionaire, but they trying to make this brother broke. I mean, you got to pay Jalen Carter. You got to pay Nolan Smith. You damn sure got to pay Jordan Davis, the first Eagle to be the special teams player of the week, to be the defensive player of the week in the same season? Are we serious? And then Nakobe Dean. And I love Jahad Campbell. I think Jahad Campbell is going to be a star in this league, but he's not Nakobe Dean as of yet. And Nakobe Dean was going stride for stride with Jahmyr Gibbs in coverage. Now, we all knew Nakobe was great against the run, but now we're seeing this guy rush the passer. Now we're seeing this guy be excellent in coverage. And it just allows Zach Bond to be the playmaker that he is all across the field. The Eagles got their leader back. You have to re-sign Nakobe Dean. I'm sorry, you got to re-sign Jordan Davis. The chemistry that he got with this squad, like, you got to. I don't know how you keep all these guys, but you got to keep those guys, bruh. And hell, you got to keep Jalen Phillips. I don't care. You got to keep that guy. Because ever since he came, this defense has been the best team, best unit in the league. So them Georgia Bulldogs, they want to get paid. They on contract years. It makes sense. Hey, man, shout out to those guys. They are just ballers. And let's lastly just talk about what are we going to talk about? We talked about the offense, talked about the defensive front, and you talked about I guess the Cowboys defensively, like, Quentin Williams, he had a great debut. And when you have him become your number one guy on the D-line and then Kenny Clark become your number two, that makes you more formidable for sure. So we're going to look at that, say to ourselves, all right, cool. Like, it might be, harder for Saquon to get his mojo back and all that stuff. And, I don't blame him. Like it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for sure. But again, I just don't feel like that Dallas secondary can mess with the Eagles on their best day if they just show this decent level of competence. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go to Dallas tomorrow with my pops. I cannot wait for that, man. And like, comment, subscribe. It's going to be great. Father son time. Eagles rivalry week. Love y'all. I appreciate y'all. We are out.